And I mean, it's just like, and my son got pulled over and got fucking roughed up, when he was 15 years old, and he never recovered from that. And it's just like, thank God they didn't, once they got his license and figured out that he was, he had long hair and everything else, uh, thank God they didn't. But then they took him to the police station that didn't have juvenile facilities, and handcuffed him in a restroom to a fucking sink. Yeah,
Wow.
me and my wife go pick him up, and he's like, "Oh, he's in here. There's nothing to worry about. He was just drinking." Oh, just drinking, as opposed to smoking a bone where you guys would have pulled him over for going 7 miles an hour. Like, Jesus.
Handcuffed to a sink in the bathroom.
Yeah, sitting on the floor.
Is that in Daytona?
Port Orange.
Wow. That's hot shit. Well, be more of this in the news to come, and more talks about reforms. And I don't even know if it's a larger discussion about reform when you've got. I mean, we know there were reforms needed.
Well, they got rid of the police chief.
Yeah, but I mean, this isn't a training flaw. This isn't lack of training. This is
a violent
yeah,
society.
Absolutely.
It's what we've done is we've all taken the biggest pit bull we can, stuck it in the smallest cage, fed it as little as possible, put it on a short leash, and then when we take it out to the dog park and we let all the fucking pit bulls loose and they all fucking tear each other apart, we go, I don't know how the fuck that happened.
Mm-hmm. There are things that departments can do, and I think we've talked about it. More mental health training. There's a very good documentary on HBO. I'll put it over again. It's called Ernie and Joe Crisis Cops. I actually had Ernie on my solo podcast a couple of years ago. I watched the documentary on HBO, and I just reached out to him. It was about two cops in San Antonio Police Force, and they are like they're beat cops. They're regular cops. But they have highly specialized, training in mental health disorders. So when a call comes in, instead of just sending the cavalry, these are two of the guys that respond. So they're trained how to talk and how to de-escalate, right? That's the key, de-escalating the situations. And this documentary, I caught this documentary right after the George Floyd thing, and I wanted to have him on because I just thought it was such a great resource. There's something like 90 hours of firearm training in the police academy and like 10 in mental health and mental health crises that they would have to deal with. So just that disproportionate focus speaks volumes.
When I was trained at the military police academy, the one thing that we spent the most time on is probably one of the most volatile situations you'll ever get into as a police officer, is a domestic.
Yes, right.
I mean, because the first thing you do is you go in and you separate. As far as possible, you separate. Because if you start handcuffing him and you turn your back on her, she's going to stick a steak knife in you.
Yeah.
You're not taking her husband. It's just, those things can turn, it's just, it's a horrible job. Memphis is a rough city. But my whole thing is, why is the tactical violent crime unit making a routine traffic stop?
I don't have an answer, I guess.
They pulled that kid out of that car like he was on fire. Mm-hmm. He was like, what the fuck?
What was the violation that they pulled him over for?
Well, they said it was reckless driving. They said he was going the wrong way into traffic, yet his car was perfectly in the turn lane with the turn signal on. No dash cam of any of this reckless driving. None of that shit. Nothing to prove their. That's the whole thing. They knew his car, they knew his tag. He stopped, and man, if once he takes that left, he's basically home.
Right.
So we better jump on this shit now.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting if anything materializes along those lines. If he was targeted for a personal thing, I wonder. We shall see. We shall.
You know
see.
what? I hope that there's something at least that diabolical, and it's just not those that were because it's instead of police just going to say pretty soon Lord of the Flies on the side of the car.
Right. Well, that's the thing that it's not some diabolical just loss of control in society and. But I don't know. I mean, what do we root for in that? It's just a lose-lose. It's horrible. It's horrible to think that over a girl you'd have 5 police officers who took an oath, who were supposed to, carry out their jobs and, service the community, that they went on a vendetta hunt. So I mean, that's awful.
I just can't believe that at some point somebody's inner being just didn't fucking like when they were holding him up and punching him. Somebody didn't walk over and go, "What the fuck are we doing?"
Right. No, but nobody there goes, "Okay, guys."
It's
all
like
right.
that. It's the movie with Casualties of War with Sean Penn.
Sean Penn, yeah.
And they're raping that Vietnamese girl, and fucking Michael J. Fox is like, "What the fuck, fucking animals!" Somebody's got to be a human. Mm-hmm.
Understood. Agreed.